So the project we're currently working on is the result of the students' need for some project that will be meaningful, a project that will allow them to work with an outside source. What we did was we send out for feelers to see, what's going on out there in the state around us. And one of the things that came back was around the garden show. So we met with Mr. Lou Catoya, who gave us the opportunity to create something that would go in the garden exhibit. And it seemed like the most meaningful component was the architecture class, because they deal with not only the environments but architecture and also the integration of those components. Best way to get the students interested in what they're doing and to give them a real world experience is to incorporate things like that right into their learning. So when we're talking about something like a stairway, they have calculations to put together for rise and for run, and this helps them determine the number of stairs over a given distance based on height and depth that they have. The neat thing about this stairway, it is a full-size stairway, so the main component of it will be approximately 6 feet tall, and it will incorporate stairs that could actually be walked on, so the logs are set up to be 8.5 inches minimal on their depth. The original request came to us as something that could just be incorporated into a garden and still aligned to a course that I was teaching. This is where architecture really triggered in the back of my mind. I wanted those students to have the opportunity to do a project like this. And the first thing I thought of was, well, what type of architecture do you find in your garden? I mean, you can find sheds, furniture, patios, pergolas. And then I thought about something that they could build, and the connection came to me right away. We just got done doing a unit on stairway design, and why don't we build stairs that would be incorporated into a garden? But then the question becomes, are these made out of stone, wood? So a little bit of planning had to go in play. Most of the projects in my courses start with an idea, a sketch, and that sketch should always start with something that's in their notebooks or on graph paper, and from that sketch you can actually develop a more meaningful design within our computer software. So honestly, we started off with some sketches as to what we thought this could look like, and they're more artistic in nature. You can see the flowers and whatnot on the sides, but this allows usually the client or the customer to see the image and really get a good feel as to what is going to happen. Now, it's not that we're going to have our project looking exactly like the hand drawing, but it also doesn't look exactly like the software drawing. The software drawing is where the data goes in. The hand drawing is where the concept of the idea comes into play. So the garden show this year has a theme, and the theme is fantasy. So one of the really cool parts about this is we're able to not only give them an accurately designed product, but one that is along the lines of fantasy and imagination. And we actually gave our project a theme or a name, and it's called the Stairway to Nowhere. Projects like this are a lot of fun because I really like the fact that we are incorporating people with a multitude of skills. If you were in the business world, you would start off with the art department giving you a concept, and then from the art department it would go to the design department, the engineering department, the promotions department. So realistically, this is running just like a business would. The number of students that we have in a class isn't really accurate for what the business world would be, but this currently incorporates the architecture class, the construction class, the art design class, as well as the journalism class.
Well, we made a staircase for the home and garden show as like a thing for the Lincoln High School, showing what we made in what's called construction technology class.
I think for the both of us, we both got involved because it was a way that we could use our knowledge and skills we've developed over the years for a real life application of designing and engineering.
Since we're both in design and engineering CT, this was a great opportunity for us to get our foot in the door and see what it's like to be engineering out in the real world.
I think Mr. Gervais does a good job at trying to connect with outside companies so we can get an insight of what the engineering field is like and how groups of people communicate information back and forth between one another and when working on projects.
Mr. Lucatoya visited us late October and explained to us this work-based learning project he has with the Rhode Island Homeshow that involves over 26 schools in Rhode Island now. And he gave us the opportunity to create our own project to follow his guidelines of the theme, which is a mystical and magical theme. And so he kind of gave us complete creative freedom. And we started off with different sketches of what we would do with the project.
And then all those original sketches, we talked about them and discussed them in class, and the group sort of came to one idea, and this was like that idea. So we wanted to create a spiral staircase with some sort of like dragon creature on it, and this sketch eventually led to the final sketch that was sent off to the people building the project, which was this, and then a dragon creature is going to be added to that staircase as well. So once the project was presented to us, we had just finished our staircase unit in architectural engineering. So we had just learned a lot about the rise and runs of stairs and what makes a staircase adequate and safe. So when we were building our initial sketches in the software and developing our ideas, we had to make sure we followed all the regulations and safety protocols for staircases, and also make sure that the rise and runs of staircases were followed correctly.
We used SolidWorks, a chief architect as software, to design and create the original sketches from the paper, and then from those plans we sent them off to Mr. Grant's class, who began actually constructing the staircase. And during their construction they had to make some changes in order to make sure everything was safe and would work accordingly.
So I think our class alone spent around like 8 to 10 hours on this project, and we began when we were talking to the guy that proposed the idea, and then all those ideas we spent a lot of time creating sketches, and then developing those sketches in the software, and then finalizing a final sketch and plan to send off to the builders.